People, the word over, are a critical element of consideration in broadcast journalism. Here, the need to broadcast through a mass media to a large heterogeneous audience simultaneously comes to play. From this large heterogeneous audience also comes the audience of broadcast media, who make up what is today called audience or followership rating in mass communication research. Research student from Benue State University Television broadcast postgraduate program conducts audience rating amongst the broadcasting organizations in Makurdi, the state capital, to determine the audience rating and viewership of the Nigerian Television Authority, the only television station operating in the state, and the two public radio stations, Radio Benue and Harvest FM. The research students walk into NTA for empirical views on what audience rating and what its organization's rating is. The Zonal Director, NTA, speaks.
I think that audience rating is the perspective your viewers in terms of television or listeners in the radio think about your programs when they watch and when they listen. Their opinion, how they rate you in terms of your performance.
Okay, that's great. And so I would like to further ask you, do you know who your audience are?
Well, that one is a little trickish, but sometimes you do, and sometimes you want to suggest who your audience are.
Okay.
For instance, if you are doing a program, you target it to a particular audience. This one is for the elderly. This program is for women. This program is for the youth. This program is for children. So more or less, you target the audience than knowing them as saying, this is my audience, so on and so forth. But you target them, you look at the various categories of viewers.
All right.
Then you want to target them and reach them with your programs. Your audience are those who tune into your station to watch your programs or to listen to your programs on radio. These are basically your audience, those who, shall I say, your faithfuls in terms of whatever you do.
Are there parameters of getting to know your
Yes,
audience?
you can know your audience. Essentially, you do a research.
Okay.
You do research to find out who is watching and how much of your programs are being watched. Then you know who your audience is. That is when you now go to specific audience. You are so sure that 50%, 100% of Benue people watch your program. That you don't just conjecture on that one. You have to research to find out. You have to send out questionnaires. You must interact with the people to know if they truly watch you. Sometimes, well, sadly, so to speak, sometimes people tell us that we are the mouthpiece of government. So our rating sometimes based on that is actually low.
Okay.
But when you look at what we do, reaching the grassroots, our rating is very high. I can tell you on authority that there is no station that reaches the grassroots more than NTA.
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell you that. But when you look at elitist viewers, I don't think NTA has so much of that.
Okay. How do you get to arrive at that, sir?
Well, researches have been carried out.
Okay.
Yes, I'm talking to you based on what we know from research findings. And that is why I also tell you on authority that if you're looking at grassroots television, that's when you must concede to us.
Also, the directors of news and current affairs from Radio Benue and Harvest FM have their views on audience rating.
Basically, when you talk about audience with respect to television and radio broadcasting, you are referring to the people who either watch the television or listen to the radio. And in more specific terms, if you have a radio station that is targeted at a particular audience, you can now refer to that particular audience as the audience of that radio station. For instance, if there's a community radio that is targeted at educating farmers on how to farm and increase their yield, that target, the farmers, will be regarded as a specific audience of that radio station. From a layman's perspective, audience rating is the assessment of the number of people or the scope of the population that listens to a particular radio station. You carry out some statistics, some research to arrive at the specifics of who or which areas, which communities listen to the particular radio station. If you want to break it down, you can pick program by program. A particular program, you go out and find out the volume of people that actually take time to listen to that particular program at a particular time it is usually broadcast. So that is how you rate who your audience is.
Well, audience may be defined in different terms by the professionals, particularly the mass communication professionals. But in a layman's language, audience could mean those who, in the case of a radio broadcast, those who listen to the radio with a view to benefiting from what they are listening to. I think that's basically how I can talk about, say what I can say about audience for as far as the radio is concerned. And also applicable to the TV. Those who watch the TV do that for a purpose, and those who watch TV can be described as audience. Audience rating is how the audience watch you, how they listen to you, and their assessment of the reception of the station or the content of the station. Based on how they see it, how they assess it, the performance of the station, they can begin to give you pass mark. It could be a credit, it could be below average, it could be excellent. So whichever way they rate you, that is their perception. And the purpose of doing this is to make sure the stations sit up. That is, if it is possible for their perception to be passed to the management of the station. It will enable the station to either sit up or to beat their chest that they are actually doing well. And where they are not sitting up, they make amends and create room for improvement. We know them by the way we do our programs. If, for instance, we are selling or we are putting out a program that has youths as a focus, we know basically youths are the target audience. If it is a program that has to do with farmers, maybe fertilizer supply, we know farmers basically our audience, and that is how we take to know them. If it is a business program, we know basically those who are in the business community will be our audience. If it is meant for students like you, we know basically you are our audience and we know how to reach them.
Why NTA claims it has control of about 50% audience in Benue State. The other stations claimed they have more or less of the audience.
Audience rating in Benue State is not very good.
Okay.
It's not very good. I remember sometimes somebody came and said, NTA, where are you? Where can we find you? They came on a courtesy call and said, we want to watch NTA, but where can we find NTA? But I'm sure there's a lot of mischief in that one because you know where to find us. We are on Star Times. We're on Star Times. Probably people are coming gradually to understand what this paid TV is all about. But you see, one thing I tell people is sometimes people are unfair to NTA.
Okay.
Because of the general perception that we are a government media, we are a government mouthpiece. they forget so quickly that there are so many other things we do in the life of the community that they wish it away. You can't wish it away. You can't wish it away. No matter what it is, no matter what it is, like I said earlier on. But one thing people must understand, like I keep saying, is that NTA is not out to make money. Primarily, NTA is to promote our culture and tradition. NTA's mandate is to promote peace, unity, tolerance, religious, and all of those kind. NTA is about the unity of this country. So that is why sometimes people accuse us of not saying it the way it is. Yeah, so it is our mandate not to make any critical situation worse than what it is. So sometimes we play down on these things that could create more crisis, that could worsen the situation. We play down on it, but we still report it. We still produce programs on them. But of course, we will not want to tell you what will make you attack your brother. We want to plead with you to take it easy. Let's see how this situation can be managed. Okay. And that is what people, for the most part of it, don't really like. Give us the hard stuff as it is. It is being reported here this way, it is being reported here, but NTA, you have been compromised. We've not been compromised. We have a mandate. We cannot operate like channels 100%. Yes. We cannot operate like AIT 100%. Yes. I can tell you one thing. If NTA can transmit a program that she doesn't have copyright for it, and she will never get away with it. But I know that AIT may get away with it. I'm not sure anyway. Channels may get away with it because NTA is an authority. There are things that we cannot take for granted. There are certain movies that we cannot transmit at will. So people say we are a cake. But then our minus will be that we don't actually produce those movies on our own to put on our channels and transmit so people will watch and stick to NTA. If we don't buy them, we cannot just transmit them through the back door. That's one thing NTA cannot get away with it.
Okay.
So we are careful.
It might sound new, but like you said, if a station broadcasts for 24 hours, for instance, there's no way a particular individual can sit 24 hours and be listening. Based on experience, people make choices as to the particular programs that are of interest to them. And at that time, they endeavor to sit by the radio set to listen to that particular program. So if you're able to carry out a research to know the particular number of people who listen to that particular program, you now arrive at the rating for that particular program. But for the entire station, the audience of that station, you can also carry out a research to determine how many of them listen to the station at all, even if it is for 1 minute, for 1 hour, for a number of hours, or once in a day, once in a week. Those are the specifics that you need to break down when you are carrying out the research. But on the whole, you can determine the process of determining, arriving at the people who listen to a particular radio station is how you rate the audience of that particular station. In scientific terms, no. We don't know because, to the best of my knowledge, we have not carried out any scientific research to determine that. But based on interactions, personal interactions, we can assume, and based on the reach of the station, we can make some, should I say, intelligence assumptions as to our audience. For instance, if the station's transmission covers up to 50% of the population of the state, we assume that that percentage listens to the station. But like I said, it's not scientific. No research has been carried out to determine that. And also based on the number of interactions we have with people, sometimes when people call in to say, we didn't hear your station today, what is the problem? We listen to this program, it is good, it is not good. We also assume how far the thing reaches and conclude that this number of population, this percentage of the population listens to the station. So they form the audience estimation.
Yes, we are fairly in a position to know that by the way our programs are aired. We also interact with people around the town, and people get to tell us, yeah, Harvest FM is the station of the day or of the state. And from there, because if you continue to be getting such credits or commendations from people, you know certainly you are doing what the people expect you. So you can easily know them. It depends on the content. If you put up a credible content, for instance, if you are a radio station and you are just pro-establishment all through, your audience is likely not to be so high. But if you combine them, anybody who comes to you, provided they are doing the professional thing, you know certainly you are the darling station. That is what Harvest FM is known for, because we are very, very objective in our programming, making sure that we give every other person the opportunity to come and sell whatever he or she has to tell us. We don't reject. Provided we are here, you are here, and not insulting persons. And I believe that is what every media organizations, particularly the broadcast stations, ought to do. There is no record to show that we have gone out to do such a survey, but we have our own kind of way of monitoring. For instance, if we get a particular program on air and we begin to hear from far away outside Benue, Taraba, Nasarawa, Enugu, here and there, we know we reach out very well. That is how we rate our audience, knowing fully that at least, apart from Benue State, people are also getting us from listening to our programs outside Benue. Then some time ago, a rating agency did a rating of the performance of radio stations. I wouldn't like to lie because I belong to Harvest FM. The assessment they gave us was not quite encouraging. Not because we are not doing the correct thing, but they said that we are not regularly on air. That is what advert agencies use mostly to do business with you. If you are not regularly on air, they hardly do business with you. But because you know this is a government agency, sometimes we have this handicap. No public power supply. Sometimes we run out of diesel, and we have that problem. So the time perhaps when they come to assess us, we may not be on air. But that does not in any way say that we are not doing well in terms of content and programming.
So out of this 4 million, can you say 10%, 100%? 50%?
Yes, out of this 4 million, we can say maybe we're above average. That is above 50%.
Some of them agreed that they have commissioned audience rating research for their organizations.
As a person, yes, I am. I had made efforts and made a submission on the need to do it. In fact, to set up a research unit. And but for now, that proposal is still being looked at. I'm hoping that at the level of the corporation, they will do it someday. Yes.
Thank you very much.
And the reason why such a research is very important is in an era of very serious competition from other stations, you really need to know who your specific targets audience are, so that you can and then get to know their likes. Such a research should be able to tell you their attitudes, their likes, what they don't like about your programming, so that you get back to the studios and tailor your productions or your programs to suit their purposes, because in the process you'll be able to get more customers, even for advertisement's sake. So such a research can act as a guide for the station to grow bigger.
They went further to speak on the implication and importance of audience rating to both social and economic drive, production, and programming purposes.
It's very important, because if you don't have viewership, you are as good as useless. What are you doing there broadcasting? You are wasting resources. But if you know that your rating is high, you know that people watch you, and you know that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, then you are good to continue in business. But if you know, this one is actually more for advertisers. Advertisers, if they know your rating, if they know that you have a lot of audience, they want to place their adverts on your channel. But if they know that you don't have the audience like the other station, they will prefer to go to the other station. I mean, this is common sense. Why will I put my money where it's not paying? So you put your money where you get value. So if somebody believes that your station doesn't have a good rating, they will not want to do business with you. But you see, for us in NTA, like I said earlier on, we are not about making money, 100%, no. We are about reaching people,
Yes.
especially when it comes to government policy. And when I talk about government policy, I'm not only talking about federal government. It is our business to promote the activities of Governor Samuel Otum. Whether he pays us or not, they don't pay us for the services. We have a crew there,
Okay.
but we don't get paid for retainership or anything. But we must report that. And then the other parties, governance and politics, we report what he does on a daily basis. We report we have a crew in the House of Assembly. We report that for free. Nobody is paying us. Then we also participate in the life of the people here. Anything in whatever the community is doing in terms of culture, that all of those things that will add value, cultural value. We want to project the culture of Benue State. We want the world to know that the thieves are here, the Idomas are here, the Itilos are there, the Igedes are here. How do we do that? We package programs based on their cultural activities.
Yes.
If they have anything that is of interest, we go to package and we put it on the network for free.
Okay.
Except if somebody wants to support the process of production. And if the station here cannot support the production, we will have to leave it until somebody assists us.
When you know, you prepare better to satisfy their interest. And when you are operating in the dark, sometimes what you assume is correct may not be correct. But by the time you get out there and you are able to get hold of the specific needs of your audience, your listeners, you'll be able to prepare better for them. And by the time you are able to achieve that, you generate greater interest in what you do, because the tendency is that more people, more listeners will be brought on board.
Meeting their aspirations.
Yes.
Economic-wise, man.
Can you?
Economic-wise, of knowing your ratings.
Yes, that's why I brought in the aspect of advertisement. For instance, today, we used to have a lot of market from the advertising agencies in Lagos.
Really?
Yes, before now. But it got to a point when they decided to introduce what they call trackers. They engaged agencies that monitor your signals and the quality of your content. So based on that, now they determine which stations to pick and what products to advertise on a particular station. So by the time, as a station, you also do your own research, and you know even what your advertisers want and what your listeners want, and you are able to impute them properly into your production process. The sky is the limit for the type of the number of customers you can get from the advertising agencies, and even the ordinary listener who may not be big but will be prepared to advertise whatever they do on the radio. So it's very important.
If you are a radio station or a TV station and you are just broadcasting without trying to know why you are broadcasting, then you are not doing anything good to you. You need to know who your audience are. When you know who your audience are, you know the kind of interest they have to be able to enable you reach out more to them. That is one thing. Then if you know your audience, if you are looking for money and you know who your audience are and you know you are getting a lot of money from the business class, you also know how to prepare your content to reach out to them so that they can be encouraged. You understand? So I think that is how we know our audience.
Beyond knowing the importance of audience rating, which informs why broadcast media must expand their scope of operation, Our respondents also spoke on open broadcasting.
The little I get to find out about open broadcasting is anything to go by.
Okay.
Other platforms beside your platform, like you have apps and social media, people could watch NTA from there.
That's live streaming.
Yeah, live streaming. Or you could. NTA also has NTA has this NTA app that you could watch from wherever you are. Okay. You could join and watch. I know that that's on the network, but I know that a few stations also have their app so that they will watch what they broadcast locally, not necessarily the network service of NTA. I know NTA Abeokuta has that, but we don't have here.
I want to believe it has to do with this present internet broadcast streaming of programs without necessarily having all this bogus equipment, transmitters. Yes, like we have our internet programming where we stream all our programs. Even when the main station is off, we play music on the internet 24 hours. So I want to believe that that is what is open broadcasting. And to that extent, Radio Benue is fully involved. It can be better, but we are doing it. The best way to do it is to go to Google Apps, download the Radio Benue app. Then you can log in straight through www.live.radiobenue.com. Once you have the app, anytime you hit it, you are there, and the station is always on.
Our headquarters does more of that open broadcasting than our local station here. Our head office in Abuja is linked up to the internet. We are yet to do that. So that is the little I can tell you about that.
This study underscores the need to know audience rating in broadcast stations to enable them improve content, grow economy of their stations, and retain their listenership, viewership, and or followership.